إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وأصحاب سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم وصل عليه الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رحمة للعالمين وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا سيدي يا خاتم النبيين. Alhamdulillah, we are on the second day of the Big Eid, as we like to call it, and today and yesterday many of us will be spending our times with family and friends. We'll be getting together at our relatives' houses, friends and family who we may not have seen for a long time. We see them on the day of Eid because it's a day of celebration, it's a day of happiness, it's a day of commemoration. But many will not know what is actually being commemorated, or we won't even think about why we have this day of Eid and why we are doing what we are doing. This day of Eid, as we've been talking about in the past few weeks on the Jummah sermon, we've been discussing the life of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam and his legacy. And in the legacy of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, we are benefited, by so much through his legacy. And one of the great things that he leaves is the story of the sacrifice and the lessons from the sacrifice of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. And this is why we have the day of Eid al-Adha, right, relating to the sacrifice of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. And what are the lessons we learn from that? Inshallah, we're going to touch upon that today. We'll talk about the actual sacrifice today as well. I mentioned it very, very briefly before Eid Salah. But as this has been the topic of discussion for the past few weeks, I thought it is fitting that, alhamdulillah, yesterday was the day of Eid, and today, the day of Jummah, we are finishing this discussion by talking about the final point in this discussion, which is the actual sacrifice in itself, and what are the lessons we take from it, inshallah. And it's clear for anybody who wants to, look this up, the story of the sacrifice. It's clear in the Holy Quran. The ayat of the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His kalam explains to us. This isn't a story that has been passed down from generation to generation, or a tale that is transmitted from family to family. No. This is from the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah Himself tells us about the sacrifice of Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ismail alayhi salam. He Himself tells us about it. This shows us the enormity of the sacrifice of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and how beautifully Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us as well in the Holy Quran. He begins, and these ayat I've discussed before, Rabbi habli minas salihin. He mentions the quotation of Ibrahim alayhi salam, the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he asked for a son, or he asked for awlad. He asked for a child. And how he makes his dua, he doesn't say, oh Allah, grant me a child. No, he says, Allah, grant me a child that is from the salihin, that is from the pious. Yani, Allah, grant me a child who is pious. Grant me a child who loves you and loves your messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, in other words. Yeah? So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the jawab of this dua, and we talked about this briefly. The verse after begins the story or the part of the sacrifice. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins, He says, فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ السَّعْيَ قَالَ. When the boy reached age, so when Ismail alayhi salam reached, the age of understanding, he reached the age where he was able to understand. قال, Ibrahim alayhi salam said, Ya bunayya, Ya bunayya. And in Arabic, this word bunayya it's on the scale of Ism Tasghir, they call it, Tasghir scale. And this scale, it denotes endearment. So, you know, in Punjabi or Urdu, for example, you can say son in many different words, but you know when the father or mother says, "Eh, mera pyara putter," yeah, they just add words or they use the word in a way to add their love into that phrase, to show you their love, to show you their shafqat. Yeah, "Eh, mera sona putter," "Eh, mera pyara putter," "Eh, mera ladla putter." Yeah. So ladla is another word, mera ladla, yeah, that denotes and it has, you know, element of their love for you, element of their love for their child in that word itself. Similarly here, bin, ibn means son, but bunay is a scale of that it shows you endearment as well, that shows you that love as well. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, he's talking to his son with that love. He says, Ya bunay, oh my dear son, yeah. Ya bunay, oh my dear son, inni ara fil manam. Indeed, I've seen in my manam, my sleep, yani in my dreams, I have seen. Inni ara fil manam, anni adbahuka. I've seen in my dream that I am slaughtering you. I've seen in my dream that I am slaughtering you. Fanzur madha tara. Tell me, what do you think? He says, oh my dear son, I've seen a dream where I'm slaughtering you. But the very next thing he says here, فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى. Tell me, what do you have to say about this? What do you have to say? What do you think about this? Okay? And this is very, very important to you. You can talk this verse. You can go on and on about the teachings and the lessons we can learn from the statement of Ibrahim alayhi salam. He says, فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى. What do you have to say about this? And this gives us the lesson of communication. Communication is key in a family. Communication is very, very important. Many issues that we have in our families, many problems that we have in our families, where there may be a breakdown in the relationship. The root cause is most of the times communication. Where the son is not communicating with the father, the brother is not communicating with the brother or sister, or it could be that the husband is not communicating with the wife, or vice versa. Communication is very important. And I mentioned before Eid as well about this idea of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam saying, what do you think of my son? Communicating with Ismail alayhi salam about this, right? Living in today's society, communication has become very easy. Communication is very easy where everybody has a smartphone in their pockets. Okay, and this mobile device, wherever we are, wherever we go, we are accessible. Yeah, wherever we are, we can communicate to somebody. And whether it be somebody close to us in the same city, or somebody on the other side of the world, we can communicate to them. Right? But in an age where communication has become so easy, we have stopped communicating. Right? Just look, for example, the children of today. Children are given smartphones, mobile devices on their birthdays, on a khushi, or when they've got to a particular milestone, they finish Quran Park, they finish Hifz, then they usually get a mobile phone, birthday, whatever. And then what happens, parents, they don't, sadly, they don't keep a check on that. They don't, check, what is my child going on, what is my child looking at. That's one thing. But the second thing is, they are always on their phone. Whenever you see them, it's Eid, for example, now, and all families get together, and what do you see? Children on their phone. You go, you sit on the train, you go sit on the bus. I used to take the train to college. When I was going on the train to college, I used to see a lot of people sat on the train talking with one another. Other people would be reading a newspaper or whatever, but when you're sitting in a circle, everybody would be talking to one another. You sit on the train now, everybody's on their phone. Right? And this idea of communication, we're using the device, but we're not using it for what it was created for. We're doing all sorts of other things on it. Social media and all of these things, they really changed the world. Right? But going back to the teachings of Ibrahim alayhi salam, فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى. What do you have to say? Another thing, parents nowadays, they're telling their child, do this, don't do this. Do this, don't do this. You have to do this, you can't do this. And the children, respond negatively to that. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he didn't say, I saw a dream, I'm going to slaughter you, now you have to be obedient to me. You have to be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyway, he was perfect, Ismail alayhi salam. Yeah, the prophets of Allah are perfect, they are free from sin. Right? But still, Ibrahim alayhi salam says, what do you have to say? What do you think about this? Right? This communication is very important. You know, in the idea now, marriage as well, nikah. This is something that a lot of the youth of today have struggles with. I get messages all the time that my father or my uncle or my grandfather want me to get married to a particular somebody, and I'm not comfortable with it, and I don't know what to say to them. I can't speak up. And sadly, this is the case because there's no communication. They could feel that they can't speak up, and then that leads to problems down the line as well. Right? So communication is very, very important. Not just on the parents to the children's side, but the children to the parents' side as well. Right? Look on the phones. You have this idea of screen time on your Apple devices. You'll have it on the Samsung as well. I mentioned this yesterday. Right? On the screen time section on settings, it tells you how long you're using your phone for and what apps you're spending the time most on as well. So we're seeing now, you take a child's device and you check the screen time. A daily average 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours on the device. 24 hours in a day, 5, 6, 7 hours of those 24 hours, you're looking at a screen. You're investing into the mobile phone or the device or whatever you are. And then you can check which apps you're spending the most time on as well. And from there you're seeing TikTok over 3 hours, YouTube over an hour, Instagram over 2 hours. You're seeing all sorts of these applications. What are we doing with those applications? Because we know there's lots of filth there on the internet. This is the fitna of today's society. Right? We're spending 6, 7 hours, going back to what I was talking about, with 6, 7 hours on the phone. How many of the 6, 7 hours are we contacting our dad? Assalamu alaikum, Abuji, are you okay? Are you well? Amiji, are you okay? Do you need anything? Tiko? Right? Are we doing that? Secondly, 6, 7 hours or 24 hours, we're on the phone. How many of those 24 hours are we sitting with our parents? Are we attaining their suhbah? Are we attaining their dua? Right? This is a lesson for me first and foremost, and then all of us. Allah Ta'ala give me the ability and tawfiq first to sit with my parents, to sit with them and ask them, how are you? How is your day? Do you need anything? Pani? Being of service to them. And this is Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's hukam for us in the Holy Quran. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala mentioned something for us, for the mu'mineen, to stay away from. And He says, stay away from shirk, don't do shirk. He forgives absolutely everything we do. Any sin, whatever it is, Allah will forgive it except for one sin, and that is shirk. Right? And in the Quran, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says, don't do shirk. Right after that, He says, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. After He says, shirk na karo, uske baad kehta hai, apne maa baap ke saath, acha suluk rakho. This tells us the importance of, birrul walidain. Giving time, giving service to our parents. Allah give us all the tawfiq. Right? So, very, very quickly, see, this is the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Can go on many, many different asbaq and many, many different lessons to go into it. From what Ibrahim alayhi salam merely said to his son. And look at the jawab of the son. He says, I've seen a dream where I'm slaughtering you. What do you think? فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى. And look at what Ismail alayhi salam says. And this is how a son should be to his father. Ismail alayhi salam, he says, قَالَ. He said, Ya abati, emir bab, oh my father, if'al ma tu'mar. Do whatever it is you've been commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's saying, I've seen a dream, I'm going to slaughter you. He's responding, do whatever it is you have to do, my father. Mere baap, jo kuch bhi karna hai, jo kuch bhi hukam hua hai na, wo kar lo. Jo kuch bhi hukam hua hai, wo kar lo, mere baap. Right? And he could have replied, my father, I'm a Muslim. My father, I believe in Allah. Slaughtering me, it's a dream, you've seen a dream. He could have came with 101 responses, but look at the one response he comes with. He says, oh my father, do whatever it is you have to do it. And then he says, سَتَجِدُنِي إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مِنَ الصَّابِرِينَ. He says, do whatever it is you have to do, jo kuch karna aap kar le. Inshallah, Allah ka hukam hua na. Inshallah, if Allah wills, you will find me to be from those who are sabirin, from those who are patient. If you do whatever it is you have to do, inshallah, I will be from those who do sabariya, my father. Right? And this is the jawab of an obedient son to his father. Knowing that whatever his father says for him to do, it is out of the betterment of his son. He's thinking out of betterment for his son. Whatever is khair for my son. A father never wants harm for his son. A father, whatever decision he makes, whatever he does for his son, he always thinks about what is best and what is khair for my son. Right? And Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam doing what a son does for his father and just acts as an obedient son. فَبَشَّرْنَاهُ بِغُلَامٍ حَلِيمٍ was the ayah before which we discussed a few weeks ago. And then look at this, subhanallah, and we'll finish up on this. فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمَا وَتَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ. And then when they submitted to Allah's will, Allah says when they both submitted, they both surrendered everything to Allah's will, to Allah's hukam. Never left anything with them. Just surrendered everything, put everything else away. Allah's will is here and we're ready to do whatever Allah has commanded us. Right? And hatta ki this hukam is for the father to slaughter the son. The father to sacrifice the son. And Ismail alayhi salam, he is saying to his father, my father, tie me up and make sure you tie me up strong. So when you do the deed, my body does not shake and you don't feel mercy for me. He says, oh my father, put my forehead down on the rock. When Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam was first laid down for the sacrifice, his face was facing upwards. And Ibrahim alayhi salam could see the beautiful face of his son. And he says, oh my father, put my face down so you don't feel mercy when you look in my eyes and you look in my face. And then when Ibrahim alayhi salam turns his son's face down and the knife is being readied for sacrifice, he says to his father, oh father, make sure the knife is sharp so it's easy for you to carry out the hukm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then as he is doing the deed, as he is ready, the knife is being held by Ibrahim alayhi salam and he's there taking it to the throat of his son Ismail.